If you've been following the Kansas City Chiefs, you are ready for the litany of things that could happen at the left guard position since Joe Thuney was traded to the Bears this past offseason. My money is on the prohibitive favorite, Kingsley Suamataia, because he is a large, dominant type of blocker. Struggled at the left tackle position, but we have to remember Kingsley Suamataia at this moment, in the approaching the summer before his second season in the NFL, Kingsley Suamataia is still only 22 years old. He will be just 22 years old until January. So a very young player, and that experience that he has under his belt for the Kansas City Chiefs came at 21 years old, right? So there is still a lot of room for growth for Kingsley. And I think that's what happens at the left guard position. Though the Chiefs have no shortage of players that could step up into that role. Wanye Morris, the Dalton Cooper, who they just signed as a UDFA. There are many. Asa Pole, perhaps. It depends on exactly what goes on. But there might be another position along the Chiefs' offensive line about which we are not talking anywhere near enough. The left tackle position is up for grabs, that's true, and right guard is a position that the Chiefs recently brought back Trey Smith, and I think there was always, heading into the draft, some hesitation over whether or not Trey Smith would be a member of the Kansas City Chiefs because of that price tag and what was the trade value the Chiefs could get out of him prior to him hitting the open market yet again just next season. But I'm not talking about the right guard position, the left guard position, the tackle position. I'm talking about center. No, that's not it at all. Obviously, Creed Humphrey is going to be the center for the Kansas City Chiefs. But in an article titled 17 NFL Veterans on Thin Ice After 2025 Draft, Browns, Giants, Stars Could Be Under Pressure from CBS by Nate Davis, we get the following. Who is the NFL veteran from the Kansas City Chiefs who is on thin ice? Well, he points out it's Jawaan Taylor. He's been decidedly expensive since signing a 4-year, $80 million contract 2 years ago, yet decidedly average at best since. Since the Chiefs' O-line was overrun in Super Bowl 59, they've added offensive tackle Jalen Moore as a cheaper 2-year, $30 million free agency hedge before drafting highly promising Josh Simmons in Thursday's first round. His recovery from a torn patellar tendon likely the only thing to delay his entry to the starting lineup. Regardless, barring a dramatic turnaround, it's appearing increasingly doubtful that Taylor reaches the final year of his deal in 2026. Now, finally, it's the final year of his deal in 2026. This is because after the 2025 season, it becomes very cheap to cut Jawaan Taylor. That means probably he's gone because it's very cheap to cut him and very expensive to keep him. That is the nature of the contract that he signed with the Kansas City Chiefs. And as this blurb from Nate Davis does point out, yeah, he's been average at best. I think he's been average to good at right tackle, but markedly below average as far as not being penalized. And it's easy to blame Brett Veach for the signing, right? 4 years, $80 million, $20 million a year to a guy that is a decent right tackle. But guys, that's just what the going rate was that season for an offensive tackle. So why do I say we haven't talked enough about the right tackle position? Well, the Chiefs did bring in Jalen Moore. Pardon me. So here are Jawaan Taylor versus Jalen Moore. Jawaan Taylor is about an inch taller. They entered the league about the same weight. Jawaan Taylor has long arms at 35 1/8 inches versus 33 3/8 for Jalen Moore. Jalen Moore's hands are bigger, 3/4 of an inch bigger, 10 inches versus 10 3/4 inches. And Jalen Moore did more reps on the bench press, 25 to 24. Not all that surprising, considering that Taylor is a bit of a finesse blocker. He's not a road grader. I wouldn't state that Jalen Moore is a road grader. I think Jalen Moore is more of a middle-of-the-line offensive lineman. He is neither a pass protector nor a run blocker. He is kind of even-handed at both. Is exemplified by the fact that he does have a 5.25 40, not the best athlete at the position, and 27 reps, a guy who is able to throw the weight around a little bit. But Jalen Moore is not here to be a right tackle. He's here to be a left tackle. Josh Simmons, who is slightly shorter, 1/8 of an inch shorter than is Jawaan Taylor, slightly heavier, and has 2-inch shorter arms, the same 10-inch hands, but does 33 reps, 9 more reps on the bench press than Jawaan Taylor, is also brought in to be a left tackle. Well, then, if Josh Simmons is healthy, we have a bit of a conundrum, don't we? What is it keeping Josh Simmons on the sideline if it's not his injury? And guys, I'm telling you, if he's healthy, he's not going to be on the sidelines. Maybe Josh Simmons becomes a very good left guard in his rookie season. Maybe that is where the Chiefs are more comfortable putting him because he is a rookie, because he is young-ish. He's not as young as Kingsley Suamataia was entering the NFL, but still a rookie. And you have the fear that even as good as he could look with that injury, even with all of the tests that he could pass with that injury, even with all the doctors in the world looking at that injury and saying, yeah, no, he's good, you have the fear that it is still there, right? So maybe Josh Simmons comes onto the team and he becomes the starting left guard this season. Or maybe he displaces Jawaan Taylor at right tackle. Or maybe he takes that left tackle position and it's Jalen Moore that displaces Jawaan Taylor at the right tackle position. Now, one of the things that we've heard a little bit this offseason that is a little bit different than what we normally hear from Brett Veach is that there is a lot of difference between, I believe this was Brett Veach, it might have been Ryan Nutt, it might have been. There is a bigger difference between the left tackle and right tackle positions than we like to think, because it's a completely different push leg, it's a completely different back leg, what hand are you strongest with, right? So there is nuance there depending on which side of the ball you're on. But I think that either of these guys, Jalen Moore or Josh Simmons, could make the switch. Josh Simmons is a potentially absolutely elite offensive lineman. I cannot say that enough. But there's a couple other things to talk about. Aforementioned Kingsley Suamataia, 6'4" 5/8", 326 pounds, the heaviest of all the guys on this list, 34.25-inch arms, the second longest arms, or the third longest once we get to Wanye, of any of these guys on the list, 10 5/8" hands, I believe that's the largest, 5.04 40-yard dash. That is a great 40-yard dash coming from a guy who has a 326-pound weight. He also did 31 reps on the bench press. Kingsley gets a lot of slack, and look, guys, I get it. He looked bad against the Bengals. He didn't look all that bad in week 1, but he looked bad against the Bengals, against a guy who had a great season, by the way. It seems to have tipped off Kingsley Suamataia's confidence. We didn't really hear from him at all after that. Could he play right tackle? Guys, I still think Kingsley could play left tackle. I really do. I know they made a lot of moves this offseason that make you believe they don't believe that Kingsley could play left tackle. But after that performance in the Super Bowl, even if you think Kingsley Suamataia can play left tackle, if you're Brett Veach, why would you stop at anything short of acquiring 2 surefire tackles? And that seems to me to be exactly what he did. There's also Wanye Morris. I still think Wanya Morris can be a good tackle in the NFL. 6'5" and 3/8 inches, 307 pounds, 35 and 1/8 inch arms, 10 and a quarter inch hands, a 5'1", 40-yard dash. Didn't do the bench press. I have a feeling he would do well in the bench press. Maybe he just doesn't bench well, right? You see guys skip that lift all the time. Maybe he had a shoulder tweak or something we don't know about. But he is a powerful offensive lineman. So it strikes me that it is not just the left tackle position up for grabs. Now, in fairness, I said this same rigmarole last year prior to the season. I thought that the Chiefs had so much talent at the tackle position then that maybe someone would unseat Jawaan Taylor. Turns out they didn't have enough talent at the tackle position to start the season with both tackles filled. So that is what it is. But anyway, guys, this is the sort of thing that I talk about on this channel. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel. So consider hitting the like button. If you maybe you want to stick around for more, the Chiefs, again, are the only thing I talk about. So consider hitting the subscribe button. And as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.